So good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to another album review of The Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector. And today we got for the first time together on the channel, we have Tom the Green Man and Señorita Sabrosura. So guys, how are you today?
Good, thanks.
I'm good too. Thank you.
Yeah, and we had to have this combination because we're going to talk about a very famous band from the Shoegaze realm, and it's the band Ride, and they have a new album. And here's the new album for the band. It's very colory, and we're here to talk about the new album. And I forgot the name all of a sudden. What's the name of the new album?
Interplay.
Interplay. I almost, something almost in my head said Coldplay. I'm glad I didn't say that. like this is the new album. So Interplay is the 7th album by the band Ride, and very famous shoegaze band. So we're gonna talk about the album. So we're gonna talk about first impressions on our first listen through this album. We're gonna talk about like favorite tracks and standout moments from the record, and then we're gonna give our final impressions and a rating. So we're gonna have start with Tom because Tom he's the most knowledgeable of this band. So Tom, what were your first impressions of Ride's Interplay album?
Well, I think it fits quite well with their last two albums, I'd say, with This Is Not a Safe Place and Weather Diaries. Two albums which incidentally I really like. I know they're different from their classic sounding albums from the 1990s, but I really like them. I think this fits almost quite well with those. It does remind me a lot of, my first impressions were that they're moving more into this sound that is a little bit post-punky, a little bit electronic. And it made me think a bit, some of the songs reminded me of Editors and these sorts of indie rock bands from the 2000s era that were doing this sort of thing, like a little bit of this sort of post-punk revival type thing. And honestly, if this album had come out in 2005, I feel like it would stand nicely shoulder to shoulder with those albums from that era. As it is, it's come out almost 20 years after that, and you wonder if this would have been an album like Ride would have released had they been around in that era, still in the 2000s. I sometimes wonder. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, first impressions are that I kind of liked it. I thought, for me, the first half, I'm still not completely like, there are a few tracks in the first half, like a lot of the singles, actually, I think that I thought, I'm not so sure about these. These sound just like what I've heard before, not necessarily from Ride, but they just sound familiar songs. But as the album went on, I started to like it more and more and more. And I think it's growing on me still, even now, after a week of it being out.
Yeah, good first impressions. What about you, Señorita?
Well, I kind of agree with Tom. I like it. I like how different they sound from the 90s. Like they're moving like forward, like being more modern and contemporary. For me they sound like fresh. But I agree. They remind me of Editors and bands like from the early 2000s. I like how different they sound, but at the same time, it's right. It's a right album, and I like that instead of being stuck in the nostalgia of the shoegaze of the 90s, like they're moving past that and they're looking forward to doing new things. Maybe the guitar sound more clear and less shoegazy for me, but the progression of the notes and it has the shoegaze elements, but they're sounding like more like Editors, more. You can see the influence of U2, Tears for Fears, and bands like that.
Yeah, good first impression. So that will lead me. So I got straight up and say that I've never been like super huge into Ride. I've listened to them casually, but I hadn't taken that ride. Uh-huh.
No.
So, so I listened to this with fresh ears. I did listen. There's a song that it's the second song called "Last Frontier." That I kid you not, I thought that it was. I was really listening to it. I don't know why I started singing "Where the Streets Have No Name" by U2 because it had like there was something in the melody. It's not that it sounds just like that. Somebody had a lot of that song. So I heard a lot of U2. I heard some Tears for Fears on some of the more like poppier tracks. But there was even a track that sounded to me like Oasis. We shall talk about that track later on. And yes, it did sound like this would have come out in the 2000s. And yes, it doesn't sound like that much shoegazy, but I did listen to some of their 90s albums, and they were shoegaze, but they were mixed with some like rock and alternative. So they had a different sound from some of their contemporaries because they don't have that like that dreamy super sound that Slowdive has, and they also don't have that like super distortion that My Bloody Valentine has. So they have like a in between to me. So first listen, yeah, I listened to it. For me, this is an album that is not. It's an album that you have to listen to repeat listens to get some of the nuances. At least for me, with the band. So I'm glad I got like a week so I could spin it more so I could get the nuances. But yeah, I was enjoying what I was listening to, and I thought, it's an album that has different styles, so I quite enjoyed it. So those were my initial thoughts with Interplay by Ride. So, Tom, what tracks for you are the standout tracks, the ones that you like the most?
I think my standout tracks would probably be I came to see the wreck quite a lot. I think I really liked the song which called I Went Somewhere to Dream, I think. Last night I went somewhere to dream. Which wasn't really to me like a typical Ride song, but it actually made me think a bit more of like the Beatles and a little bit with the way the song was, but not entirely the Beatles, if that makes sense. But I quite liked the way that that song, they developed the vocals on that one. At first I thought, is this going to be a dull track? But as it went on, I started to really like it. And I really liked, I think it's Portland Rocks, because that for me is one of the shoegazier, like more classic Ride type songs on the album. There's a bit more noise about it. I can imagine it being the sort of song that Sam would enjoy, Shoegaze in '93, because it's got that, I think that sound that he quite likes, the sort of classic Ride sound to it. Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid track towards the end of the album. And then there's another one I quite like that stands out after that called, I think it's Essa or something. I can't quite say.
Oh yeah, that the 7.5 minute track.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to say it.
It's quite long, but I kind of like it. At first I wasn't sure about it, but I'm enjoying that one quite a bit on repeat listens. So yeah, I think I like the bit of variation in this album, despite it sort of being clearly Ride in their later years. There's some variety here, I think, still. I don't know if at times I would have liked a little bit more on maybe lead guitar wise, but yeah, it's still pretty good stuff. I think those were my standout tracks. Yeah.
Nice. Good analysis, my friend. So what about you, Señorita?
Well, my favorite track, it's Last Night I Went Somewhere to Dream. I really love that track. I love the soft melody and the guitar jungle, and it reminded me of the band Love. It's a really old band. It was Jim Morrison's favorite band.
Oh wow, I don't know that band.
Yeah, Love. It was like a psychedelic band and have that influence on the Doors, and the singer was African American.
Okay.
That's what I remember. Um, I came to see the wreck. I also love that song. It reminded me of Depeche Mode a little bit.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
uh, Last Frontier, the single, like when I listened to it by itself, like it didn't make so much sense. But listening to the whole album, like I think it makes more sense. I love the lyrics in this song, and I like it goes like more like indie pop. And there was a song that you said you were singing YouTube. Well, the song Portland Rocks. I was singing My Man Heroes by David Bowie. Like it had that beat for me.
Yeah. Nice. Almost all the album. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So yeah, I think that would leave me. I think we almost like almost all of the same tracks, but I actually think Midnight Rider. I love the bass on that track. The bass like carries the whole song. And it's, it could be maybe people say it's repetitive because it's like the same bass the whole time through. But I don't know why. I just love the bass tone of that track. It really carried the song. Uh, Portland Rocks, I think it's great because it's got more like a bite and a distortion to it. And it's more at the end. So it kind of like wakes you up like, yeah, okay, there's some distortion here. But to me, it had a lot of like alternative rock. I would think of like many bands from the 90s, even Pixies came to
Yeah, I
mind
had
uh,
feel.
when I listened to that track. And other tracks that I thought that last night I went somewhere to dream is, yeah, it's a great track. I think it's more lush, more spacey, so I really liked it. And I came to there's a song that you didn't mention that I love. It's Light in a Quiet Room, because that song starts like
Very
more like
Yeah.
like a piano, and then you think it's going to end, but it keeps on building. It gets very psychedelic. I would think of like 70s prog rock bands
Yeah,
on
I
that
like
one.
the explosions and the distortion at the end.
Mm,
Yeah, because I thought that okay, this song is over, and then I'm like, no, it's not over. It's
yeah.
it's still going, uh, and I thought that was like a standout for me. So yeah, it was really great, that one. And I came to see the wreck. That's pure Depeche Mode, and it's Depeche Mode. I felt like an 80s Depeche Mode vibe. It had that, like you want to dance to it but also rock out. So I really enjoyed that track as well. So those were my standout tracks for me. So now we're gonna talk, maybe what we didn't like about the album, and our final score. And here we score it on Is It That Bad? We give it thumbs up or a thumbs down, but here we go from 1 to 10. We go the normal route. So, Tom, what your final thoughts on this one, and maybe things you didn't like?
Yeah. I think that the album, it's a very open album. So it's kind of sentimental, and not that I didn't like that about the album, I don't think, but it feels a little bit sometimes for me, like listening to the album in full, I'm not always completely engaged with the whole thing. Like there's moments in the album where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm enjoying this again, and then I dip out a bit, and then I'm in it again. So it's a little bit of a journey, a ride, as you put, Hector. So very,
Eloquently.
yeah, eloquently. Um, I do like it though, and I think it's been a grower since my first listen. When I was listening to the singles, I was like, oh, is this what we're gonna get? And I thought to myself, I'm not sure I'm really gonna like this Ride album all that much. And I'm going to end up just going back to their, either their classics or to something like Weather Diaries. But I do feel it's growing on me quite a bit. I'm not sure yet whether I like it more or less than their last album. This is not a safe place. I just probably need still more time to judge how it you know, how I feel, particularly in their latest releases, how I feel about it against those. I think it's hard to really compare it against their classics. I probably, you know, will always like Going Blank Again as my favorite from this band at the moment. I think that's probably still my favorite album. But overall, it's a solid release. I think at the lowest I'd give this a 7, at the highest an 8, so probably 7.5 maybe. Like a typical Green Man 7.5. But I give quite a few of those on my channel, so I think it's a 7.5 at the moment. With a sort of view that it could maybe change a little bit up or down as the year goes on. I can't see myself going back to it loads at the moment. But I'd probably go back to stuff like Portland Rocks, individual tracks like that, and Sunrise Chaser, Last Night I Went Somewhere to Dream. And, you know, I came to see I'd probably pick out certain tracks rather than listen to the album in full a lot. So yeah, that's probably my final judgment. So yeah, 7.5.
Nice. So what about you, Señorita?
Well, I had the privilege to see Ride live, and they played Monaco. They were announcing they were gonna record a new album. That was before recording the new album, and they played Monaco live, and it was great. I really like them live, and that song for me it's great too because it's very danceable. So live it's great. But when I listened to the single Peace Sign, I thought the same. Like, this is weird. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like the whole album because Peace Sign is like very different from all of the other things they have done.
That one sounded like Blur to me.
Yeah, it's weird. And they in this song they sound like very young, like they're teenagers, and they're grown-ups. They're old. uh, I saw them, so it's like they're not teenagers, like they're old people. uh, but
Ageist
yeah,
Señorita.
they're seniors. But we're listening to the whole album. I think it's a grower. Like, the more I listen, the more I like it, the more I enjoy it. I even like the experimental, the one that Tom said, Esaruria or whatever you say it. I know it's long, but I like how experimental for me.
So Uira.
Yeah, it's very hypnotic. So I think overall it's gonna be a grower. um it's a solid record. I couldn't find like too much to complain, so it keep me entertained, and the more I listen to it, the more I like it, so I'll give it an 8.
Nice. So that would lead me. So I think since I'm not I wasn't like huge into Ride growing up. I'm not as attached to those 90s albums of maybe Tom and Shoegazer 93. Please do not unsubscribe Shoegazer 93. He'll be like, how dare you? But I listen to this like sometimes I like to listen to like not thinking of their old albums. It would happen like if like a band that I like that can happen when I listen to the new Pearl Jam, because I've been listening to them for so many years that of course I'm going to compare it to their earlier material. But since I'm not like super invested in Ride, I have the luxury of listening to it like with fresh ears. And yes, it's an interesting album. Like funny enough, that 11 track So Oira, I didn't like it that much. I thought that song at the end kind of like took it down to me, put like the snooze button for me. And I don't know, like the last 2 tracks kind of like lost me a little bit. It was too slow, and especially after Portland Rock. So you're gonna wake me up then to make me fall asleep again. So I wasn't huge on that track. Like I said, the Peace Sign, yeah, I thought it sounded like those like boys and girls, girls who like boys for Blur, too much. Last Frontier, it sounded too much U2. Monaco, I think it's the poppier track on the record, but it's danceable, and I like those. I like bands that put some dance to it, like The Killers or Panic at the Disco from the 2000s. So it had that type of vibe. And the other song that I don't think it's bad, but it was too long, was Stay Free. It's 5 minutes, acoustic, and it
Oh
sounded
yeah,
like
yeah. I wasn't into that.
it sounded like it sounded like they were doing Songbird from from Oasis, but longer. I don't know why, and it was like Stay Free, and it's like really 5 minutes of this. Like Oasis did it in 2 minutes, so I thought it was too long, so it kind of bored me. But besides that, I don't think there's any track on this album that would make this an Is It That Bad episode. So I would rate it a 8 out of 10. I thought it was enjoyable as a whole record. I think it's a grower. Will I listen to this the whole year? I don't know, because there's a lot of music out there. But I would, if you don't know Ride, I think you could listen to this and then listen to their previous album. But there's definitely no shoegaze on this album. This is not a shoegaze record. Maybe there's like hints of it, but if you're expecting a super shoegaze record, you will be disappointed. To me, this is an alternative rock album with some electronic and dance elements to it and poppier side. That's what I would say this album. So, but yeah, solid 8 out of 10. So we want to know from you guys, you people, what do you think of Ride-Interplay? How would you rate it in Ride's discography? What are your favorite tracks? And if you like the videos that we put out, do not forget to subscribe and give us a like. Subscribe to my friend channel, Tom the Green Man. He talks about shoegaze, horror, fantasy, and he's interviewing a lot of symphonic metal bands. So if you watch a lot of interviews on my channel and you want to see prettier people interviewed, check out Tom's channel. He's got the more attractive people.
Symphonic Sundays, right?
Symphonic Sundays, and it's Sundays. So you can watch it, and you can watch the Is It That Bad episode, because this Sunday Is It That Bad is going to be back, people, and we're gonna talk about Marilyn Manson. And Tom, you're safe. You're not doing this one. And we're gonna talk about the High End of Low got the most votes, so we're gonna talk about that one. So subscribe to Tom and Señorita Sabrosura. She's got more content now. She's doing a series where they talk about like vinyl that you should own. So I know sometime in the future I will be in one of the episodes. So and she also talks about rocks in Spanish. Plus, she does a lot of collaboration on my channel, and she's got merch. So where can they get the merch?
Instagram at sabrosura.r.
Yeah, awesome. And obviously, if you haven't subscribed to me, what are you waiting for? Do so. I got, interviews, the Is It That Bad series, album reviews, and I got merch. Since none of you, so you can buy merch too. It's fredless.com. You can buy some merch, some shirts for the Shield Dude on a couch, and I have mugs and other stuff if you want to buy stuff. So coming up next for the channel, we have this weekend we have the new Is It That Bad, and I'm also going to review the new Ingested album, and I'm going also. There's going to be an interview with the band New Moon, which is a shoegaze band from Belgium. They're going to be on the channel this weekend as well. So,
Hector, there's a new album from a group I like called Still Corners tomorrow. It's coming out. Well, actually, I don't know when this video is going up, but it's coming out on the 5th of April. So anyone watching this video, there's a chance they might like them because they're the sort of shoegaze dream pop kind of thing. So I thought I'd plug that. They're a good husband and wife group. Yeah.
I think you interviewed them on the Shoegaze Files, right?
I've not interviewed those guys. No.
Oh, maybe
you could try and you could see if you could get them maybe.
Yeah. What are the names of them?
Their names are Tessa Murray and Greg Hughes, and the name of the band is Still Corners. Yeah.
I will check that out. And yes, this is Like if you've seen it today, it's Friday, so that album is out today. And of course, yeah. So people, until next time, this is Hector, the Shield on a Couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.